This video is about the select attributes operator. This is used to choose attributes from an example set to exclude or include them from subsequent processing. It's used a lot, and you might, for example, use it to reduce the number of attributes so that your data is easier to understand. And of course, I guess it's always the case that if there are fewer attributes, processing time will improve. So we'll look at the attribute filter type parameter and the main options it provides, and this includes regular expressions, the invert selection parameter, and the include special attributes parameter. Regular expressions, we'll touch on those actually, and they're a big subject in their own right, and no single video will do justice to them, but we might as well start with a reasonable overview in the context of this operator. So let's get straight on it. So here is a simple process. It retrieves the labour negotiations data and then selects attributes from it. So the first thing to do is look at the possibilities against the attribute filter type. And there are various, and we'll cover all single subset regular expression value type in this video. The others there are less common. So initially we'll set the parameter to all, and what this will do is select all of the attributes. In other words, no selection, no removal will happen. And I've connected up both the output of the select attributes operator and the original data set. So if I run that, so the original data set, it contained 40 examples, 1 special attribute, 16 regular attributes. If I look at the selection, the result of the select attributes operator, it's exactly the same, and this is to be expected because basically all was the parameter value for the attribute filter type here, therefore everything was allowed through. Now we might as well show what happens if you set invert selection at this point. If I do that, now what happens is that all the data apart from one of the attributes is removed, and the one that remains is actually one of the special attributes, in this case the label. So the implication is that a regular attribute, which is non-special, is included in the filtering and the selection criteria. What this means is that actually special attributes are distinct from regular ones, so the all in this situation didn't apply to the special attributes. To make it apply, you do this. If I run that again, now we'll see that absolutely nothing has made it through. This row number isn't in the example set. This is just a row number to keep track of the rows, and you can see absolutely nothing has made it, which is what you'd expect in this situation. So now let's move on to the next possibility, single. So what now you can do, if you set attribute filter type to single, and you can then choose one of the attributes to filter out. I'll choose col adj. So and what this will now do is it will select col adj as the attribute that will be selected and will pass through the operator. Include special attributes is unchecked, so any special attribute will also appear. If I run that, sure enough, col adj has appeared, and class, which is the special attribute label, that's appeared as well. I'll go back to the design view. If I do this now, if I include special attributes, I'll delete this original for now, just so we get straight to the result. If I run this now, you'll see just col adj has made it through. So now let's go back to, if I change the invert selection here, what we should now see is that everything apart from col adj will make it through, and this includes the special attribute. So sure enough, there are 15 regular attributes now, and look at the statistics view, col adj does not appear as one of the names of the attribute names. So essentially it's been filtered out. Next thing we'll look at is the subset. So now what we can do is we can actually, as an extension really of the single option earlier, let's pick columns here, and you can do Control and left arrow to choose ones you want. So I'm going to choose collage, duration, wage, inc third. Click this arrow here. These attributes will now be selected. All the others will be eliminated. The include special attributes is not checked, so any special one will also make it through. If I run that, sure enough, duration, wage, inc third, collage, they appear, as does the class. You can see that in this view more easily, I think. So again, we can, if I do this, include special attributes, sure enough, the special attribute is no longer in the resulting example set. And I could do invert selection as well. I won't for reasons of time. So now let's move on to regular expressions. Now regular expressions are tough, but actually the tools provided are pretty good. You can almost in real time now see what happens to your regular expression and see what the result would be. So what we do is we actually have to type a regular expression in this box, and that will be matched to the attribute names. I'm leaving include special attributes off. Run that, and we get duration. Now, okay, you can say, well, big deal, we could have used the single or even the subset possibilities, but regular expressions gives you much more flexibility, and you can, if you don't know about them, you can get some hints here, and there are some other options here, regex options, but I'll keep it as simple as possible. What we'll do is let's for the sake of argument, let's look for duration or pension. Now what's happening is this is a bigger expression. It means look, match duration or match pension. Okay, so still, and you can see here that it would have picked these two attribute names. Now again, big deal, you could still use the subset. But where regular expressions really become important is where you can do some arbitrary matches. Let's say, for the sake of argument, I want to look for all of the attributes where a hyphen is in the name. And what you do is you have to do this. You have to do dot star. That means look for any character repeated 0 or more times. So this essentially lets you start anywhere apart from the beginning, or including the beginning anywhere in the string. Then I'm going to say, let's look for the hyphen character, which I've got to escape with a backslash. Then I've got to say I am interested to see one only of those. Let's do that. So that means that I will match a string that contains one and one only hyphen. Then I'm going to say, well, let's just do this. Let's look for let's not care about the rest of the string. Now if I do that, then you see that all of these attribute names make it through, and this includes attribute names with 1 hyphen in, 2 or 3. I can actually do better than that. I could say, well, let's look for those which contain 2 hyphens. So essentially what I've done is I've said, as before, let's look for a hyphen from the beginning that occurs by itself just once. Then look for an arbitrary number of 0 or more, any characters at all. Then look for another hyphen that occurs once, and then continue to the end. So that matches 2. And I could go a little bit further. I could even do this. And now that's matched all of the attributes which have 3 hyphens. Let's run that. And sure enough, these attribute names can have 3 hyphens inside them, so they match the select attributes criteria and make it through. You'll notice also there's a use except expression. So now I could actually say, well, I'm going to do a better job, and let's exclude anything that has health in it. Okay, so I've now added another regular expression, which is an exception really to the main regular expression, and what I'm expecting to see is that contrib to health plan will not appear in the final example. Let's run that. And sure enough, contrib to dental plan is okay, but the one with health somewhere in it didn't get selected. Okay, so regular expressions are complicated, but they're well worth getting into because they give you all sorts of power. Many operators use them. So let's move on though to value type. Now this lets you select attributes which have a certain type. So you can basically select nominals, numerics, which are really a group containing integers and reals, and polynomials, binomials, text, file path, and date and time. So the type of the attribute is obviously important for some processing, so you might decide to eliminate all those or include only those you're interested in that have a numerical type. So for illustration, let's look at just numeric. If I run that, certain of the attributes have made it through. Sure enough, integers and reals are the ones that have made it. I could be more sophisticated. I could just select integer here. Run that. Now we're only going to get integers. I could also do nominal. So if I run that, now we'll only get the nominal. Sure enough, there they are. Okay, let's go back to the possibilities again. So there are a number of other ones. Block type, I've never used it. It's to do with series. I've never had occasion to use it. No missing values. Okay, you might find certain situations where you're only interested in attributes that have no missing values. If I run that now, I'll include special attributes in this case. It turns out that the only attribute that has no missing values is actually the class. We can prove that to ourselves if I put the original data back, run it again. If I go to the statistics view, what we're looking for is an attribute that has no missing values, and the only one is this one here, which is 0. If I scroll down, you can convince yourself of that statement. Every other attribute has a missing value, therefore the selection criteria eliminates that from the final example set, and the only one that remains is class, providing I've ticked the include special attributes box. Okay, so numeric value filter, that's another way of filtering. I have to confess that I think there may be a bug in the latest version that stops that working, and anyway I never use it, so I think we can probably safely ignore that for now. So let's just go back to the overview intro. This was the select attributes operator, and we covered those topics as shown on the screen.